Hey everybody, this is Zara from Bishop's Wellbeing, and I'll be joined by my lovely co-host Laura, wellness practitioner and owner of Dragonfly Wellness. You are listening to Social Silence Podcast, the show that discusses health and wellbeing inequalities by providing a platform to organisations and services supporting those affected, whilst encourage the sharing of personal journeys in a supportive community, helping you to find your voice and break the social silence. Today we are being joined by Valerie, who is founder of Women of Grace, and she will be talking to us today about her charity and organisation and what they do, why she has decided to set up this organisation and what it means for her, and hopefully telling us a little bit about her journey to finding her voice.
Thank you very much. So hi everyone, thank you Zara, and thank you Laura for having me. I'm super excited. So I'm Valerie Lalamari. I'm a sheltered housing manager. I'm an African chef. I'm an author and also a resilience coach. And the most exciting part of it, I am the founder of Women of Grace UK, and we work with women who have suffered psychological effects having gone through FGM. Now, FGM is a female genital mutilation. Yeah.
And it's a tricky subject, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. It's a subject that is very close to my heart, because I was caught when I was 16. So I had quite a traumatic upbringing. Firstly, I'll just tell you a little bit about me actually.
Okay, that'd be
so
great.
yeah, I was born to two very young people, teenagers. My parents were teenagers when they had me, and obviously I was born out of wedlock. My dad was the youngest in the house, so he was a little bit embarrassed. Didn't really know what to do with me because he was the youngest, and went and impregnated a girl outside. So I had to go live with my grandmother. Now my grandmother, at the point I lived with my grandma, she was already old because my father was her youngest child, so she didn't know quite much. But bless her, I loved her so much. She was the only one I trusted. She looked after me. Now I come from Africa, Nigeria. And in the area where I come from, at that point I used to hear about circumcision, but I didn't quite understand what it was. So because of my upbringing, the way I grew up in a polygamous home, I lived with various aunties and uncles, helping them. I was basically like the maid girl. So one of the times when my grandmother said to me she was going to take me on a holiday, I was so excited because I hadn't never gone anywhere. I hadn't gone on any holiday. So she said we were going to go on holiday, and I was really excited, and I was looking forward to it. I know that after that my whole life was going to change. Yeah. So she came, we packed our things, and off we went. So we went to some village. That's not the village that I come from. And when something is not right, I started to have butterflies in my tummy, but I couldn't pinpoint what was happening. Yeah. So anyway, we got there, we got into the place. As soon as we got through the door, the gate was locked behind me. So I said to my grandma, what's going on? And she said, oh no, don't worry. And don't worry, we're just going to see these people briefly before we go. We went into the house again. The door was locked, and I turned around. I had seen that there was a very unfriendly faced woman sitting there with so many things on the floor, plates, and all sorts of things. And my heart,
at that point,
oh my God, I started.
That was right.
Yeah.
And I was so scared, but I couldn't really do much, And I said to my grandma, and the lady said in the dialect, told my grandmother that I needed to sort of undress, and it was just horrible. It was horrible what I had to go through, because I now started to fight. The lady was quite huge, sat on my chest. I was struggling, I was fighting, because I didn't want to do it. I was fighting. I had another one holding my hand. It was just a very horrible experience. And before I knew it, I could feel the sharp pain,
So just
absolutely nothing. Got me on the floor. Someone was sitting on my chest, another one holding my hands, and that was it. Those unsterilized equipments was used to now start cutting. And my one was a little bit, turned out a bit, I don't even know how to explain this, because I was fighting so much, they cut more than they were meant to cut.
Right.
So they had damaged a few bits under there, and it was horrible. So I was there lying there in a pool of blood, and for so long I remember raising my head up and looking at my grandma at the door, and she was crying as well. But then I thought to myself, why did you allow them to do this to me? And I was depressed for days. I didn't want to stand up from that spot. I refused. As a matter of fact, to be quite honest, if I was left in that room alone, I might have ended up taking my life, because I felt really, it was horrible. The pain, it was as if I was dying.
Yeah.
You know, I cried until I couldn't hear my voice. I was talking and I couldn't hear my voice. So that was the beginning of the change in my life. I was really depressed. I was angry. I felt betrayed. I felt, like I was used as a guinea pig. But after a while, I sort of picked myself. I'm a very resilient person. So
Yeah.
I kind of picked myself up again, and I said to myself, you know what, Valerie, just keep going. And then I carried on, even though underneath my heart, I still had the pain there, psychologically, I didn't feel as if I was like a normal woman anymore, but I just carried on going. But one thing that was very profound for me was I had an opportunity to sort of talk to my grandmother. Now, I even cut the story short. After all the episode of the cutting of my genitals, after that I had a series of infections.
Yeah.
Terrible infections. At a point I even had pus coming out. It was so bad. So we went through all of that, but I could still see that my grandma was very happy. She was telling everyone, for her, it was a thing of joy. So I needed to find that space to speak to her, to understand the reason why that was done. And that was the beginning of my passion, because when I spoke to her, she didn't know any better. For her, it was a celebrated thing for her to do, and she was very proud that she got the chance to do that. Now, when I was circumcised, I was about 16. At that point, I hadn't had sex willingly. Even though when I was younger, I'll quickly say, when I was young, about 9 or so, I was raped as a child. Yeah. So that's the story for another day. Yeah. So I had
I have had the privilege of reading your book and your journey, and to see here, sat with you today, and I said it when I met you. You come across as a powerhouse. You are a powerhouse.
That's how Zara described you to me. She's a powerhouse. That's the first thing she said.
And I just, read your story, and I cannot believe that from such starts in life that you have never ever given up on yourself.
And that word that you describe yourself saying that you were resilient, like that, it doesn't even touch it, does it? There isn't even a word, I don't think, to be able to describe. That just, isn't enough for you.
So it's just been, I've just had, when you don't want to give up on things, that's just me. It didn't bother me what circumstance I found myself. There was just something inside of me that just kept saying, Valerie, you need to go on.
There's more.
Yeah, there is
Keep
more.
going.
And on top of that, I had the urge to want to stop it. I don't want no one more person to go through what I went through.
And it's almost like that's what you've taken out of this awful situation and that whole negative look on it. That's the one thing that you've been able to flip it now to get it that positive, and this is your drive and what you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And sometimes you still go back into yourself. I still find myself going back into that little girl and sort of experiencing the things, but I quickly come out of it. When I get a lot of testimonials from when I started to share my story and to speak up, a lot of other women started coming out of their closet, and I thought to myself, this is what I want to see.
Because it's not out there very much, is it? Like it went through a very short period of time in the media, and that it was talked about, but then something disappears again, doesn't it? And I personally think that's very much like our media. We get very hyped up about something, and then it's like, it's gone, and you're like, oh, did that happen?
But nothing's actually changed.
No, nothing's changed.
Exactly.
So I, hand on heart, can say that I am quite naive to it. I don't really know much about it, but I'm very willing to learn a lot more.
So that's one of my drives as well. Exactly. Because I found that even when I do little surveys, you find that a lot of people do not know a lot about female genital mutilation. I've had people say to me, oh, it's a cultural thing. I've had some people say to me, it's a taboo. I don't want to talk about it. Oh, that subject is very touchy. No, it's not. No. It's violence against women.
So that would be my first question for you is, where does it come from? Like, why is it done?
Exactly. For me, I'll talk about where I come from. They do it to you because they don't want you to be promiscuous.
Okay.
That's just the end thing. It's just to curb your sexual
Yeah.
That's all. That's what they do. So you are the woman, in quotes,
I was going to say
the lesser one.
The power thing again, isn't
Exactly. So you need to keep yourself. You mustn't go anywhere. You mustn't have sex with anyone.
Yeah.
So they cut your genitals. So you're just sitting there waiting for the man that you would marry. That's just it. That's just it. Simple. Nothing else.
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's just it. But it's ignorance, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It is, because it causes more harm than what you're trying to achieve, which doesn't make any sense.
No.
Anyway, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh,
I had series of problems. I had 7 miscarriages. I lost 7 babies because every time I got pregnant, I would have really horrible infections, and the babies would come out. And the doctors couldn't find any reason but the fact that I was cut.
Yeah.
And because I said to you, because of the way I was struggling, they had cut the labias as well. So my one was meant to be a type 1, which would have meant cutting just the clitoris. That's the type 1.
Yeah.
But you ended up being a type 2 because they cut the labia. So now that's it. So I get infections just every now and then.
Yeah.
And then when I had my babies as well, normally, the labias will stretch when you're having babies. I didn't have a labia. So obviously when the babies are coming out, it will tear. The vagina just tears. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So FGM really does a lot of damage. I'm talking about the psychological bit as well. I was just lucky to marry somebody that is my husband is very supportive. Again, because I was truthful from the beginning. So I told him, this is what I've been through and this is what it is. But even in my mind, psychologically, I'm thinking, what is it like? Because I really don't enjoy sex, and that's the truth. Yeah. I have to now mentally tell myself, you are enjoying it, Valerie, because you're doing it with somebody you love.
Yes.
Not because of the physical thing, because I don't feel anything down there.
Yeah.
So these are all the damage that it does to you. Yes.
So much is taken away in that
so
one moment, wasn't it?
Much.
It just
it's just
and when you're
so
helpless as well, you know, helpless. But it took me a long time, but I'm glad I had a conversation with my grandmother. Then I could now understand where she was coming from. Yeah. Then I didn't feel that bad anymore because I was quite angry and felt really betrayed. You know, why would she let it happen? But she didn't know any better.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's almost like she thought she was gifting this to you.
Absolutely.
And actually, and that's where, by educating and making people see things in a different way, not making, but, persuading people to have a look at things in a different way.
It's that educating, isn't it?
And then, and educating and sharing your story. Yeah. It empowers others to go, actually, maybe I need to rethink what this is. Is this something that we should be doing? Is this something which, we'd sit here and go, absolutely not. This is violence against women. Yeah. This is about control. This is about subservience. That's what it's about for women. And ultimately, the journey that you've been on, hopefully sharing that and will change those perspectives and help support women to make better choices, because effectively your choice was made by a woman for a woman based on the beliefs that she had.
Yeah, and that's all she knew. Yeah. And that's why I founded Women of Grace, because I always use myself as an example. It took me a very long time. I felt ashamed. I felt the stigma. As a matter of fact, I always felt as if this was all I deserved, as if I did something for me to be treated in that way. But as soon as I got to the point where I had built enough strength inside, and I thought, no, I need to speak up to help someone else out there, because I felt as if I was being selfish now. I've been through so much, yet I'm not sharing my story, and someone else will be going through the same, and they're not strong enough to come out because they haven't seen another person that's like them.
I love that perspective though that you put on that. Again, it's just that whole flipping it of like, no, actually I'm going to use what I've been through to help so many other people. But you know, when you said that now you were at a point where you were strong enough to share it, had you done anything specific to get to that point, like any work on yourself that you'd done, or did you just feel like you dealt with it yourself?
What I did was, first of all, like I said, my grandma only passed away a couple of years ago, so that one, getting to talk to her, and she also gave me her blessings to say, because I did explain, I wanted her to understand how it's affected me. So she said to me, please, whatever you can, lend your voice to make sure that they stop it. So that was one
that's
part.
amazing,
So that
must be really
that was
special
very
for you.
Very, I hold on to that so
Absolutely.
dearly. And after that, I started to put myself on courses, just to try and improve my confidence, to help my mental health.
Yeah.
And then again, my husband again was the biggest cheerleader. He would always encourage me and say, "No, you can do more." I just kept going.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I kept going and got to the point where I started to share my story slowly with people who would come to me to counsel them, and I'll tell them, I said, "No, what you're talking about, I've been through this, and I started to see the improvement in them as well.
And the fact that you've been through it, it's so different, isn't it? When you work with somebody and you know that person's been through what
You've felt their pain.
Yeah, exactly. You can understand, and you're not. There's no judgment or anything because you know exactly what it's like firsthand.
Yes, that's it, Laura. And I wanted to have a safe space where these women will come and
Just
they
like,
are not.
yes. Come on, Valerie. Like literally, your energy and your passion is just. I can't even think of the word. It's just, you can
powerful.
It is powerful. It's there,
Yeah.
and it is just such a pleasure to kind of be in your company and feel it. And you're going to keep going. Anyway, carry on with your story. We want to hear more.
Yeah. So I founded Women of Grace and I built a community. So we have like a WhatsApp group, a safe space where people come. Every day people drop their stories, they chat, pair support, they talk to each other, and then I have masterclasses as well. So what I used to do in the past, I was saying to Zara, during the pandemic, I did all of it on Zoom, and then what I used to do, I'll now get people that I know, now that I've known you two as well, I'm going to get you to come on and talk to the women.
We're there.
Yeah, so I just used to reach out to people I know to bring the expertise to come and talk to the women about mental health, about self-care, about raising their voices and their personal space and all sorts of things. So that's the community we have built. And then with those women as well, I have one-to-ones with them. So they'll call me up and we'll talk about their specific problems and struggles that they're going through. And I've seen the women change. Some of them that never even used to speak. I have one of them who's also writing a book. And I'm thinking, yes. Because what I want to do is get these women back up.
Yeah.
So they would now impact their own space and, lift up other women.
Yeah.
And then it keeps going.
Build their own little community.
Yeah, so
we're
all
that
that
community, isn't it?
It is. It's empowering women to empower other women, and that I
coming
just
together.
the one thing I love most about the fact that we work together and the things that with the people that we meet is that we are meeting people that just lift, encourage, empower, and that is just such an amazing source for me in terms of my joy and my happiness to be around such amazing people in doing their day-to-day life. And actually it's really easy to just focus on all the negative things on the news and all the things that are going on, but there are so many good people out there.
That's right.
And the more people we can lift up, the more people we can empower.
Yeah.
I hope love trumps hate one day. One
It's
day.
amazing. You're amazing as well. You guys are doing an amazing job. Honestly, because I saw it online, and then I quickly went when I was speaking to Claire in the council, and I said, "No, I want to see Zara." You guys are doing an amazing job,
Thank you so much.
and I really, really appreciate it, and it'd be super to try and collaborate with you.
Yeah, and that's
So we
something
can
we're
lift
hoping
this
to do
women.
in the future, and just constantly build that community, build that support for anyone who's really been struggling, but working with different organisations and creating something that's personal to them and their journeys.
It's about all working together, isn't it? And we've all got, it's almost like a toolkit, isn't it? So we might know someone that needs your help and vice versa.
That's true.
We can all need to help each other.
And the jigsaw puzzles will come together.
Exactly that.
And I think it was in your book, one of the biggest takeaways, now I've completely gone blank on it at the moment, but there was the 3 pillars that you talk about in your book: persistence, perseverance and faith. And actually it is, I teach on a happiness course at the moment, and one of the biggest things that we look for is purpose and faith. And I just think that faith everyone automatically thinks that has to come from a God, but it's just that faith that there's something more powerful than you, outside of yourself.
Precisely.
And as soon as you start to realise that, and you start to realise that your energy your internal compass will guide you. You had that gut feeling.
Yeah.
You knew something wasn't right. Yeah. The more we listen to that, the more we are likely to live happier lives and go follow the right path.
Absolutely.
And we've all kind of lost that. Like you had that at just 16, was it?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you were already tuning into that at 16, and we've all got it, but we all lose it, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's like I always say,
or ignore it.
Ignore it.
But sometimes there's a confidence as well.
Oh, massively.
Because one of my reasons why I did that as well was because my grandma was the only one I trusted.
Yes.
So even though I had the gut feeling that something wasn't right,
it's okay,
I'm thinking, no, the only one that would protect me is standing right here.
Yeah. And you're right,
So
it is that
it.
confidence thing. And we all, you remember like when your mum used to say to you, oh, it's mother's intuition. And I remember thinking, what is that? But I now know after the work that I do and things.
Yeah.
But there are still those moments when I think,
Absolutely.
oh, I wish I'd gone with my gut because I knew it wasn't supposed to be like that.
Honestly.
But we have to remember it, and it's that belief as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like just believe in yourself that actually.
And don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah, you need to persevere.
Never
and that's one
up.
of the things I want to instill in those women and the young girls coming up.
Yeah.
It's your space, it's your body. You have a right to say no. Don't come near me. Don't let people subject you to do things that is not right just because you don't have the confidence. And sometimes it's because of the culture as well, the way you're brought up.
Yeah.
I was brought up in a culture where you're not allowed to speak, especially as a woman. You're not allowed to really express yourself. No, when the men say things, it's supposed to be final.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
we need to change that narrative, though. We really need to change that.
And you're going to.
Yes.
You will.
Oh, yes. I'm not giving
I have
up.
absolutely no doubt about that at all. And we'll be right there cheering you on.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad.
Oh,
Thank you so much. This is so great.
Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us today.
My
and
pleasure.
just sharing, an amazing story with us and your journey, and more importantly, where you are now, what you're doing now, the work you're doing. I already said to Laura, you're a powerhouse, you're a formidable woman, and I just hope that you can keep changing the narrative out there for most of the people that are facing this FGM coming into their world and change their narrative about what that means for a woman.
Thank you. Thank you
you
for having me, and I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to working with you too, Valerie, very much so.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you for joining us today for our podcast with me and Valerie Lolomari. If you want to know more about Women of Grace, then please visit the website. The link will be below. And just like to say thank you once again for finding your voice for social silence.
Thank you.